Hey guys, and welcome to the wrap up. This is the official Raptors Republic post game live show, but today is a little bit different. We're going to be bringing to you guys a trade deadline show. It's just before 2 o'clock p.m. There was some big news already in Raptorland. Norman Powell, number 24 at UCLA, he was traded for Gary Trent Jr. and Rodney Hood in a reported trade. That's been all over basketball Twitter, all over Raptors Twitter. Oren, quick thoughts on Norm for Gary, Trent, and Rodney.
It's an interesting trade. It's not the framework I guess I was expecting. Oh, Will's here. Let's invite Will in.
Let's invite our man, Will Lou.
What's up, Will? How you doing?
What's up, Will?
Thanks for having me.
Well,
if I leave this chat like midway, like that infamous Prince Harry interview in Afghanistan or whatever,
you just run out of here.
Just know that Kyle got moved. All right.
I was gonna say that means Kyle got traded. Not the deal I was expecting. I think a lot of people expected them to go a little younger, skew like kind of get some draft picks, maybe a prospect and a pick, but it makes a ton of sense from like a cap perspective. You know, Trent has a $2 million cap hit, so they'll have a lot of money to spend in free agency. Like people have said on Twitter, you can't really judge the deal until you see what the front office does in free agency. But I really like Trent. I think he fits what the Raptors are, which is like he plays extremely hard, shoots threes, pretty good defender. I think that's the big thing that stands out. He plays extremely hard, and he's a dog, and he likes taking those last-minute shots. And I think Raptors fans will like him a lot. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I'll speak last about it. But Will, what was your first reaction on Norman Powell for Gary Trent Jr. and Rodney Hood?
I wasn't surprised he was going to Portland. But at the same time, I thought maybe the Raptors would get a pick coming back. Nope. Okay, don't worry. No Kyle Lowry trade. Yeah, don't worry. I thought they'd get at least one pick back because I like Gary. I like the idea that you're getting a player who's restricted, getting a player who's younger, who, you know, maybe more of a two-way player than Norm. Obviously, Norm is like a fantastic scorer, but a little bit limited in how he scores. And defensively, obviously, there are lapses. Whereas I think Gary's more solid defensively, can give you most of the same shooting. I mean, you know, Trent shooting 40% this season, taking over 7 threes a game. Mm-hmm. And I do think that, you could probably get him for a salary number that's lower than what you would have paid to Norm. And I think that it was important that if you did move Norm, who was going to be the shooting guard for this team, right? Because there really wasn't one, especially if you're going to move Kyle and Norm in the coming hours. So you kind of needed somebody. And I do feel comfortable with Trent as like the next guy. So,
yeah, I'm with you. I'm with you for the most part. I always wanted, if I wanted Norm to get moved, I wanted a starter back. Or at least a guy that can contribute to the rotation immediately. That's what Gary Trent Jr. is. I don't know at this point if the Raptors are done because with the Kyle Lowry impending trade, we'll see what happens there. But whatever happens there honestly depends on what we're going to see in this rotation. So as of right now, you could probably pencil in Gary Trent as a starting shooting guard. A lot of people aren't talking about Rodney Hood, though. Rodney Hood, our bench is probably the weakest bench in the league, guys. And Rodney Hood can contribute to this bench. I said he's probably the best bench player we have other than Chris Boucher. I completely he's nowhere on Stanley Johnson's level. Yeah, he's coming off, I think, a torn Achilles. He's coming off a pretty devastating injury. But even a Rodney Hood coming off of an injury is a guy I'd play more than a Matt Thomas, a Stanley Johnson. Do you guys think that people aren't talking about Rodney Hood enough? I'll let Oren go first.
I don't know, because I think there's a good chance that he'll get waived after the season because it's a $10 million cap hit, and it seems like the Raptors have some free agency plans. But I agree with you that he's probably better than, half the guys at the end of the rotation that the Raptors are playing right now. And pre-Achilles tear, he was having a really, really good season. The season he got traded, I believe, to the Trailblazers, he was really good. So if he can kind of find that form again, then that'd be a great addition for the bench. If not, because this season has kind of been pretty up and down for him, then, the Raptors can just get off that money or even send him somewhere else and see what happens, because he hasn't had a good season at all. But pre-Achilles, I thought he was a pretty intriguing player.
Yeah, for sure. For those listening, by the way, if you haven't noticed yet, we have William Liu from Yahoo Canada Sports, a former Raptors Republic writer, podcaster. He's one of the good guys at Raptors Republic. We're all fond of him. We're just going to invite him on to speak about this recent trade, the Norman Powell verse for Gary Trent Jr. and Rodney Hood. Will, are people talking about Rodney Hood enough? Because I get it. Again, okay, you're already shaking your head. Like, I get it. Rodney Hood.
What are we saying, man? Come on.
But, bro, like, the bench is god-awful. Like, they've been god-awful this year. And if there's one thing that I've wanted from the bench consistently this year, it's been scoring, and we haven't gotten it.
Yeah, but, I mean, you know what? Healthy Rodney Hood could definitely help this bench. Absolutely. But the fact, I mean, honestly, even this current Rodney Hood could help the bench. That's how bad the bench has been. Yeah. Like, the latest thing I've been really going in on is just, like, how can we get guys on the bench who can score 6 points? It's like, it's killing me these days, man. 6 points is like this like impossible barrier for people to hit. Yeah, man. So I think Gary can help, or Gary definitely can help, but I think Rodney could help if he is healthy. Of course, we haven't really seen that this year. I mean, his numbers this year are really, really low. Obviously, that's like way below career norms, but I'm just really not sure what to make with him because he does have skill. I mean, he's lefty, he can score. He's got like a scoring game. Like I think people can like score within like a concept of like a team offense, and I think Rodney can get some individual one-on-one, offense off. But I mean, realistically, are you really expecting that from him? Not really. I think it's really just like I would say he probably stays on the roster the rest of the year, and the Raptors can see what they have there. But I'm not expecting too much at the moment, mostly just because he's been hurt. Which is just a shame because he was a pretty talented player when he first came in. I liked him in Utah. He even had a cup of coffee in Cleveland that year where LeBron was leaving. So we'll see, man. He's got some talent, but it's the injuries have really just taken a toll for him.
Yeah, my personal opinion on both players, like Rodney Hood's a guy I think that can help us out almost immediately. Is he a guy that I'd be fond of, acquiring long term into the offseason and beyond? I don't know. It really just depends on money. Rodney Hood's a guy that, a lot of people thought a few years ago was going to get paid, around that $15 million mark because he looked like an elite, role player, at least a guy who could start on most teams as a shooting guard. But again, he did have what I think is one of the most devastating lower limb injuries, which is the Achilles injury. And we haven't really seen the same Rodney, but again, I think he can still contribute to this team. Gary Trent Jr. is the guy that I'm personally most excited about. As you guys can see, I'm wearing, Duke blue. The thing with Duke guys is like, I don't really consider myself a fan as much anymore of the Duke Blue Devils, just because I feel like they've become like there's a lot of bandwagon fans,
like now,
especially after Zion got there. But Gary Trent Jr., I tweeted this in December. He's one of my favorite, if not, like if you remove all the stars from the league and then the Raptors players, Gary Trent Jr. is probably my favorite player in the league. Like I love his passion. I loved what I saw in the bubble. I've been following him since Duke. I'm a huge fan of Gary Trent Jr. Is he better than Norm Powell at this stage? Obviously not. Like that's clear. But I think what Masai Ujiri, Bobby Webster in the front office wanted to do was just get back value, but also shore up as much scoring as they can get in return for Norman Powell. Do you guys like the Norman Powell fit? I'll go to Will first. Do you guys like the Norman Powell fit on Portland?
Yeah, I do. Listen, Portland is not trying to play defense this year. They're like the bottom 5 defense, but they got a great offense. Like there's no doubt about that. And I think the one thing that Portland is missing, obviously they have tons of shooting, right? With CJ healthy, Dame is obviously one of the best shooters in the NBA. Melo's having a really fun year. I feel like every time I watch them, Melo's like prime Melo again, and that's been really joyous for me to watch. But I think they kind of lack a guy who can like take it to the basket like Norm can. Like they don't really have that kind of like explosive driving finisher. They have plenty of shooting. And in that kind of concept, yeah, I think Norm would fit really well, whether that is just like wide open catch and shoots, which we know Norm is like shooting like he's literally shooting Steph Curry numbers on wide open threes this year. It's not even a joke.
Insane, yeah.
But he can also like attack a closeout and drive to the rim. And I really don't see how you're going to guard that small ball lineup by the Blazers. I don't really see how that small ball lineup by the Blazers play defense either, but that doesn't seem to matter to them. I think they just want to be the best offensive team they can be. And Norm definitely helps them in that front. We'll see if they re-sign him because Portland does have a lot of money on.
That's what I was thinking about. Yeah,
but still, even if it's just a rental, like I think he's going to be really nice for them. I think again, just There's so much space. If you give Norm Powell that much space, man. I mean, Norm Powell was giving you like 30 points when he was playing with Aaron Baines and like, Stanley Johnson and DeAndre Bembry. So he's going to give you some really nice output for the Blazers. It's a good move for them for sure. And he shows up in the playoffs, which, Portland has sometimes struggled with that.
Yeah, I mean, Gary Trent did well in the bubble last year. He did well in the playoffs, but
huge news, huge breaking news.
Oh my goodness,
absolutely huge. Matt Thomas, our boy Matt Thomas.
What is wrong with
the Utah Jazz for
the Utah Jazz are sick, man. The Utah Jazz are sick.
Utah made a move. No one thought Utah was going to do anything. Honestly, I kind of like it for Utah. I mean, why not? I guess. I mean, I mean, I don't know if you guys have anything to say on that. I don't think Thomas was part of their long-term plans after this season, so I'm really not surprised. Yeah,
I want to see how protected the second round pick is, man. It might be like a top 55 protection.
I mean,
literally. Like,
if it's this year too, Utah has the best record in the league, so it's not going to be great, but whatever.
But yeah, Oren, did you like the fit of Norm beside Dame Lillard?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's slightly redundant besides CJ and Norm, just because they have a lot of scoring and defense has been their problem historically. Mm-hmm. But I agree that small ball look could be really cool. It's just once they get Nurkic back, does Norm close games for them? I feel like he's going to kind of be in an awkward spot where he's only closing games if like he has it that night, which is fine. I think that's kind of like. That's kind of ideal for Norm. You don't want to be relying on him to close out every game for you and start every game for you because like we know when his shot's not going down, sometimes he doesn't have it on certain nights. So the fact that they have a lot of options now, they can either go to like a score heavy lineup or more of a defensive lineup. That's nice for them. But if they don't retain him in the offseason, I think it's kind of an L for them because they're giving up an RFA for a free agent. Like they would have been able to match any offer, obviously, on Gary Trent, and with Norm, he can go anywhere he wants this offseason. So if they don't retain him and it's just a half-season rental, and they don't, obviously depends on what they do in the playoffs. But if they don't go very far, then obviously that's going to be hard. From Toronto's perspective, though, I definitely understand it a little more. Just like getting an RFA in favor of a free agent, so they have a little bit of a backup or a fail-safe, like no matter what, they can retain Gary Trent and have him. Whereas Norm could have walked, it's a possibility. And the other thing is, like I said, the cap hold of only $2 million compared to Norm's, like I think 10-ish million, gives them a lot more flexibility in free agency. And like, I'm curious what you guys think of this, because everyone was like, damn, we missed out on Giannis. The front office fucked up, whatever. But maybe like, Giannis wasn't the only, like maybe they have plans beyond Giannis this free agent class. Like I'm not saying like a max guy is coming here, but maybe there were some backup plans in case the Giannis thing went through, which is why they've clearly coveted keeping cap space this free agency. I don't know.
Go sign Jared Allen, man. Go sign Jared Allen. I think Chris Haynes of Yahoo had a report about this, that the Raptors were one of the many teams interested in Jared Allen. And of course, he's a restricted free agent. And Cleveland did trade for him, I think, with the intention of re-signing him with his restricted rights. But, make a push. I just think that the Raptors need, if they have Trent at 2, they have Fred at 1, they have OG at 3, and they have Pascal at 4. You need a 5. Like, you still need a 5. That's like the fundamental problem of this team this whole season was they just didn't have a good 5. With all due respect to what Chris Boucher did, occasionally off the bench, but they just need a solid starting 5. Someone who can either protect the rim or space the floor or do both, And I think that's where I think the cap money, if they are looking to make this play with the cap room, I think that's where they should be looking, is the center position.
Yeah, there was also a report real quick that they were interested in Rajon Holmes, who's also a restricted free agent this offseason. So that's another guy to keep your eye out for.
Yeah, Rajon Holmes, Jared Allen. I'm a fan of both. Jared Allen, I saw a report that he is demanding anywhere close to $100 million over however many years. Not sure if I'm a huge fan of that, but
I don't trust those reports.
Yeah, that is
I
true.
remember Bobby Marks tweeting about Fred VanVleet like before the offseason, being like, Fred's gonna get like Yeah, exactly. And he didn't even get like near that. So sometimes I don't know about those reports. Can only take them so seriously.
You can, yeah. Let's talk about this for a sec, guys. The breaking news that just happened.
Oh God.
I don't know if you consider this breaking news, but Matt
no.
Thomas,
I don't.
resident Toronto shooting guard, traded to Utah for a second-round pick, a future second-round pick. So he's now a Jazz player. I'm going to be totally honest with you guys. This news just came out a few minutes ago. Wojnarowski, and I'm assuming Shams probably confirmed it, but I'm going to be totally.
We don't talk about Shams on here, bro. We don't talk about Shams. No
yeah, that's true. I'm going to be totally honest with you guys. I'm surprised we got anything from Matt Thomas.
I don't know if we did, man. A future second round pick could be anything, bro.
That could be anything.
I'm telling you, it's a top 61 protected pick.
And that's not like shade towards Matt Thomas. I think he's just struggled a lot this year. He's struggled to get consistent minutes, and a lot of that's been because teams have kind of figured him out. They're crowding him a lot more on the 3-point line, and they realize that Matt Thomas essentially really brings one thing to the table for Toronto, which is, again, you can't do that in a Nick Nurse system. You have to bring multiple things if you want to be a mainstay in that rotation. Alexander Wang left us a comment saying Wojnarowski saying that Matt Thomas was moved for I'm assuming he meant roster spots for a Lowry trade. So that could be true. That could be something that Masai is working on, where he's opening up roster spots for a Lowry trade, which means we'd be getting a package of players back.
Will, I know you said you have to go real quick. Do you have any predictions do you think the Raptors are going to trade Lowry or Gold, if you had to guess?
Let us know. Come on, you didn't want the Matt Thomas analysis? Come on, man. No, I'm gonna miss Matt. Actually, Matt was a really hard worker, man. He worked really hard. He worked at his craft. There's certain things that he couldn't really get around just yet, but like, honestly, good luck to him in Utah. Like, obviously, there's like plenty of shooters there. But if I hadn't made a prediction, I say Kyle's traded. I don't really know where specifically. I still think it's the Heat, and I do like the Heat's offer better than most other teams that were potentially in the mix. But I mean, listen, man, I trust Masai to extract maximum value, especially for a guy like Kyle, especially for someone who can really like impact the title this year. So get that done. But I appreciate you guys for having me on the show. Obviously, Raptors Public for life, bro.
Yes, sir.
For life.
We'll plug some things before you go.
What am I got to plug? Just listen to Raptors Over Everything, the podcast. Listen to Run It Back. We got a live call-in show soon. Trying to get back on your level. So and listen, man, that jersey in the background. I see you retiring that jersey, man. So Hall had like 15 points in that jersey at least.
These guys don't know about this. What I did in that jersey.
Man. So Hall was actually low-key nice. I was surprised. I thought he was gonna be I don't know, stereotypical, but no, I'm kidding. But no, he was he was nice, man.
With windmills and shit. Nah, man.
So I appreciate you guys, man. Thank you.
All right, well, take care. It's good having you. Thanks, man.
Thanks for joining us. All right. That was a nice shout out to Will for joining us.
Good to see our boy Will.
Yeah. Matt Thomas. I don't know if I have that much more to say about him. He just didn't really bring it this year. Like, he wasn't even hitting the threes that he's asked to hit, and defensively, it seemed like he took a step backwards. So, I mean, clearly he was in Nick Nurse's doghouse from pretty early on this season. If it is to open up space, that would make sense, because usually the Raptors don't care about drafting like late first round, because they're pretty good at grabbing guys who are undrafted. So I don't think they even care about that type of pick. But yeah, we'll see. We got Aiden here about to join us. Guys who are Aiden, what's up? There? How you doing, man? Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, man. Let's go back real quick to the Powell trade. What are your thoughts? You can attack it from either way, the Portland or the Toronto standpoint.
Maybe I was like a little bit too optimistic. I thought we were going to get a little bit more value. I was hoping like maybe a draft pick. Maybe it was like lower first round. So I was kind of, when I saw the tweet, I thought that was kind of an incomplete trade. I was waiting to see what the draft part of it was. So I was kind of surprised on that end. And Yeah, I'm surprised that was the best offer out there. I would be interested to know, like, post-mortem what they turned down. And maybe it was kind of like, we still want to compete, so we don't want to trade in conference. That could very well be part of it. I like getting Gary Trent Jr. Like, I was listening earlier with William, like, you guys covered all that. I think it gives us a lot of flexibility into the future. I love that Nurse's system is just throw wings everywhere and like hardworking dudes, and I think Gary fits into that. My friend did note on this side that all 3 Garys in the NBA have been traded today, which is kind of funny.
Gary Harris, Gary Trent. What's the third
Gary
one?
Clark.
Gary Clark. Okay.
Going to Denver.
Yeah.
And on the Portland side, like, I mean, they get Normie. I think of any contending team, Norm kind of makes the least sense there. Like their big deficit is wing, and defensively especially. And Norm doesn't really do that for them. They're going to be explosive, that's for sure. But Gary and Hood offered them the only size they really have on the wing, other than, I guess, Derek Jones Jr. So
yeah, I was a little confused for the same reasons. But I'm with you that I thought, just because the reports that the amount of teams that were interested in Norm was in the teens, I thought maybe they could create a bidding war and get like a prospect and a first. But at the same time, that kind of deal is like wishful thinking. That would be a fleece if they sent a first in that deal. I think this is fair value for both sides kind of thing. I think it's pretty clear from the front office's point of view that they didn't want to pay Norm upwards of $20 million. A, and B, that they've obviously had their eye on Gary Trent for a while. Like, these things don't happen for just like a day of scouting real quick. It's one of those things where they had a choice of deals and they didn't want to take long-term money on, and they like Trent. So, I mean, I trust them more than myself. I trust their scouting and the guys that they like in the league more than me. So, yeah, I understand it. I think it's pretty fair for both teams.
Yeah, totally. I just think I had misplaced optimism is all. I was like you said, like, as soon as I thought or heard that half the league is searching for him, I'm like, oh man, this is going to be gravy, But
yeah. When that report came out for me, when I saw the teams were in the teens, I forgot who released that report. I thought the Raptors were going to get a haul. They were going to get a complete haul for Norman Powell. So honestly, when I saw the Gary Trent, Rodney Hood, like, I'm a big personal fan of Gary Trent Jr. A lot of people who follow me on Twitter probably know that, but so I like the trade from a sentimental standpoint. But I think at first I was kind of with Aiden, where I was like, maybe we could have got a little more. I was thinking it was going to be one of those trades where, Woj kind of announces, hey, this guy's getting traded for these 2 guys. And then there's like a second part to that trade where he's like, oh, and by the way, Raptors are also getting, a 2023 first-round pick or something like that. So I thought that was going to happen. It didn't happen. But, I mean, considering that Norm is just going to be – he's going to get an absolute payday in the offseason that I don't think Masai, Ujiri, or Bobby Webster have been planning on paying him. Considering that, and they just don't want to – I don't think the Raptors ever want to be – or Masai, his thing is that he never really wants to be that guy that just – gives assets away for nothing. So I think for him, it was always Norm had to go. And getting back a 22-year-old perimeter shooter who's shown flashes defensively. I did read a recent article that, Gary Trent has been struggling a little bit defensively this season compared to last. And a lot of that just has been, on a personal level, but then also on a team level. Portland's been absolutely horrific, which is what Aiden alluded to earlier, defensively. So, I mean, we'll see. We'll see what Gary Trent Jr. brings. I mentioned how Norm is a much better 3-level scorer than Gary Trent Jr. is. He attacks the rim much better than Gary Trent Jr. But I mean, a lot of the pin down stuff they do with Norm, they can, easily transfer that to Gary Trent. It does suck because Norm is a guy that we followed, ever since, Toronto traded for him, the Grievous Vasquez trade, drafted, from UCLA, second rounder. He beat all odds. He had the whole understand the grind, branding thing going on. So it is tough to see, a longtime Raptor go, but I think it is good to see that we did get some value in return. What I think, personally, considering all circumstances, is fair value.
Well,
yeah, I think in the short term, like people might be surprised that the Raptors are just going to have an even harder time getting to the rim, and we might just become more of a jump shooting team, which is not ideal at all. But like we've always said in a Norm deal, it's most likely you're not getting the same archetype back, and that you have to kind of develop that archetype or draft it or get it in free agency. But it's still very possible to replace, just maybe not this trade deadline.
Exactly.
Let's hit on a couple quick things. So the pick that they got for Matt Thomas is actually a Golden State 2021 pick, which is kind of nice. That's like a 40s. Right now, that would project to be in the 40 to 45 range. So that's actually a lot better than what we originally thought. The other thing is this, which is the Hawks and Clippers. Looks like Rajon Rondo is going to the Clippers, which I'm pretty sure they could have signed him in free agency.
Oh my goodness, that's
not. I don't think that's the answer, Clippers.
No,
that's
it's not.
All I really have to say.
Since Kawhi's been there, I mean, the weakness there has been point guard. Like Reggie Jackson to me is not a point guard, and he's not a good point guard. You can call him a combo guard. I don't really think he's a good basketball player at this stage of his career. We've seen so many like moments where Kawhi just gives him a look like, "What the hell are you doing?" And that's just natural from playing with Kyle Lowry, and then the next season you're playing with Reggie Jackson. So I think the Clippers have finally realized that, hey, the only way we're going to get past the Lakers is if our guard position improves. And who knows? Like Rondo, for me, had a terrible regular season. Like he was a guy last year who had a terrible, terrible regular season with the Lakers. He looked like he was disinterested at times. There was times where he was, not sitting anywhere near the Lakers. He looked like he was doing usual Rondo stuff until he got to the playoffs. And we saw his game kind of expand, and he looked like the role player that the Lakers kind of needed. So hopefully, he can do that for the Clippers if this trade goes through. But yeah, him going to the Hawks, I mean, at the time I was like, oh, well, it kind of makes sense. If you're getting playoff Rondo, sure, with Trae Young. But I still don't think this is the answer for the Clippers.
Yeah, I think the essence of playoff Rondo is that there's no regular season Rondo, right? Like you have to know that going in. And
that's
so I mean, I think Atlanta was a little bit overzealous bringing him in, unless they thought like his leadership was going to somehow temper all of the different personalities on the team, and that clearly didn't check out either. So, but I don't think this gives Clippers the boost they need. Like I think I was listening to the Ringer, and KOC was saying that the Clippers are last in the league in points in the paint. I think they're primarily a jump shooting team. Like Rondo is going to give you the odd slash and attack, but he creates that because everybody else is focusing on whatever centrifugal force is on the court at the time. But he's not the creator that they need. I think their ceiling's pretty set, unfortunately.
Yeah, like I think I was talking to a friend about this. Like we underrate, I feel like LeBron's ability to like put everyone in specific roles and like make them look really good in those roles. And I feel like that was a good example last season was Rondo, especially in the playoffs where he had a pretty limited role and he thrived in it, hitting pretty open threes, facilitating. But LeBron's still the guy, and I don't hate the deal, especially if they're not sending a lot out, but like you still want Kawhi Leonard to have the ball. That's why I've always kind of been confused about this point guard talk. Like if it's Kyle Lowry, of course I understand that, but if it's like a regular like replaceable point guard, why are you taking the ball out of Kawhi Leonard's hands at the end of the game or at the end of the shot clock? I don't know if you guys have any ideas for that, but to me, he's enough of a facilitator where I'm perfectly happy running actions through him and Paul George.
Well, I think that's why Rondo is fine, because he is good at coordinating the court. Like that really is his, he's like Lowry in that sense that he sees the 4-dimensional court more than most point guards do, especially someone like Reggie Jackson who probably sees it in 2 dimensions. So like in that sense, I think it's a great pickup. I just think that like their issues are glaring and Rondo doesn't fill those. He'll maybe give them a game or two in the playoffs though, like he did with the Lakers. So, I mean, I love him. I was a Celtics fan when they won, so I'm sentimentally connected to Rondo. But I think they need more than just him.
Yeah, I'm with you guys. I don't think Rondo is going to fix what the Clippers need to get to where they want to get to. And this is an interesting storyline for this season because when Kawhi first went to LA and then Paul George went as well, and they did that whole press conference, I think people automatically believed that, even with Bron and AD there on the other side of LA, that the Clippers would be favorites. And I think we saw last season how deep rooted their issues were, and they got rid of a very good player in Montrezl Harrell. They did add some pieces, but I still think the Clippers are looking above at the Lakers, even with, Bron is out, AD is out, and those guys are going to miss a bunch of games. But for me, I think, doesn't matter what seed you have the Lakers in, if you have Bron and AD healthy and the rest of those guys healthy, the Clippers do not stand a chance, in my opinion. They don't. And that's with, Kawhi Leonard playing at a superstar level in the playoffs for them. So, will a potential Rondo trade fix the Clippers? I mean, you could argue that maybe it would help, but I mean, overall, that's not pushing the.
Yeah. What do you guys think about this question from Frank? Would you guys do a deal based around Tyler Herro? I've been kind of surprised about how low Raptors fans are on Tyler Herro the past few days.
Yeah.
Personally, I think he's the best prospect that have been talked about in any of these deals with Philly or Miami. So do you guys like Tyler Herro as a fit in Toronto? Would you do a deal around him?
I'll let Aiden go first. I'll let Aiden go first.
I guess I was more interested in Maxey when I guess he was getting compared to Herro, like either or. I think Herro's getting treated in the inverse way that Powell was, right? Like the last 2 or 3 months have been ugly for Herro the way it's been incredible for Powell. And so that's made him look much worse than he is. He's 21. He can perform in the playoffs. I don't know that he fits what the Raptors need right now. Like we don't succeed with rim pressure. That's not really his game yet. I don't think he fits, but at this point when we're just trying to accrue as much asset capital as we can, like I wouldn't say no to it. I'd much prefer it than Duncan Robinson for sure.
Yeah, the thing with Tyler Herro is that, normally you look at that guy and the Raptors need an off-ball creator, a guy who can make shots, a shot maker on this team, especially a guy that could potentially come off the bench. So the thing with Tyler is that, and he's young, he's super young. A lot of people are on him about his defense, but I think when you have guys like OG and, Fred around him, he's not going to struggle as bad as people want to make it seem. Like he didn't really look like a liability in the bubble, to me at least, with Jimmy Butler and Bam behind them and all those guys. But again, having a guy like Bam can help. Like you funneling, the offense towards a guy like Bam really helps. We saw it last year with, funneling the offense towards Ibaka and Gasol. Like it helped the Raptors defense a whole lot. But yeah, I'm a fan. I'm a fan of Tyler Herro. Like if the proposed package that everyone's been kind of bringing up is the Herro, Precious Achua, and a first, I believe, if I'm right. Yeah. And I mean, considering the other deals I've seen, I'm okay with that. I think it's crazy because as of now, it is 2:32. The deadline, I believe, is at 3 p.m. And the Raptors still haven't made a trade for Lowry.
I think they're gonna hold till the final second.
Yeah, and the thing is if they hold, then it freezes everybody else, right? Like why not?
Exactly.
Yeah, I think I agree that it's not a clean fit beside Fred VanVleet. Like those two, it's a small backcourt. Herro's not a great defender, and Fred defends point guard. So where is Herro going to be? He can't really defend wings. So that's, I think, the biggest question. The one thing he does add is just a guy who can get his own shot, like especially in a 6-man role. I like the fact that he can create for himself. The Raptors are lacking players who can do that. And also, I think we are underrated in the fact that he had 2 great series in his first year, against Boston and against Milwaukee. Like the fact that he did that, exactly. He has something. He has that some hardworking factor where he's not afraid of the moment, and he had really good first playoff run. Aiden, before we get you out of here and get Nick in here, any last words? Anything you want to plug?
No, I've just posted 10 things I like and don't like about the Raptors on Raptors Republic. You can check that out.
It was great. I liked it a lot.
Thanks, dude. And no, I'm just sitting here kind of like chewing my nails waiting for this deadline.
Like all of us.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
All right, man.
All right,
thanks, guys.
Thanks for joining us, man. Appreciate
Appreciate
it.
Thanks for joining us.
Take care,
Peace.
man.
All right,
Warren.
Nick.
Oh, we got Nick this fast. Nice.
I don't know. We'll wait for him to get his
Holy
camera
shoot.
working. What?
The Clippers sent Lou Williams in the Rajon Rondo trade.
I don't understand. I mean, well,
Okay.
The thing is that they could have signed him as a free agent, so that's why that's bad. Like, I don't hate that idea because I think Lou is a pretty flawed player in the playoffs, and I also think he's a little redundant beside PG and Kawhi. But you could have signed Rondo in free agency, and also Rondo has a 2-year deal, so he has another year after this for $15 million total. So like they're gonna have to pay Rondo next season. And man, if Kawhi leaves, that team's outlook in the future is really, really bad. And I think Kawhi leaving is at least a possibility.
We got Nick here.
We'll see. Is Nick here yet? I don't think
He's
so.
joining. In the meantime, I'm literally having so much fun scrolling down Wojnarowski's Twitter timeline. This is a lot of fun. So the Hawks trade's official, at least through Wojnarowski. They're trading Rajon Rondo to the Clippers for Lou Williams and 2 second-round picks. So they attached 2 second-round picks to Lou Williams.
What?
To get Rajon Rondo.
Just Rondo? That seems like a very high price to pay for Rondo.
That is crazy. That is insane. 2 second
Well,
round.
when you can't get Kyle Lowry, you get Rajon Rondo, right?
Yeah, Rajon Rondo. Let's talk about some other trades that have happened really quickly.
Yeah.
Orlando looks like they're tanking. Vucevic to Chicago. Aaron Gordon to Denver. Who am I missing? They traded one more key guy, Evan Fournier, for a pair of second-round picks to the Celtics. Any thoughts, Oren, on Orlando and what the hell they're doing?
We got Nick. Before I bring Nick, I'll just quickly here. Hey, Nick.
Boys, what's going on?
How's
Are you
everything?
trading Kyle Lowry? I'm losing my shit over here.
I'm losing my
We
mind.
all are. Nothing. We're probably gonna have to wait till 3:05 p.m. Honestly.
Yeah, I'm refreshing my phone.
I'll real quick say I liked the Vucevic deal because they get Wendell Carter back, a center for the future, and 2 first-round picks. That's a pretty good deal to me. The Aaron Gordon deal was kind of confusing because a 2025 protected first-round pick, along with RJ Hampton and Gary Harris, who has several years left on the deal. It's just like I think they could have got more value for Gordon if they traded him last offseason or maybe even this upcoming offseason when trades are a little easier. So I think they could have got more value for him, but I think they're smart to blow it up because they've been bad for a while.
Yeah, I think what pushed it is the fact that report came out that Aaron Gordon demanded a trade a couple weeks ago. So,
who do you think you are, Aaron Gordon?
Yeah, like
Since
relax.
when does Aaron Gordon get to demand trades? I thought that was reserved.
Are we ready for how bad this Magic team is going to be, though? Like, I don't think we're ready. They play the Blazers tomorrow. What's the spread going to be? 18, 20?
Man.
Yeah, it's true. But for their perspective, they'll get a good pick, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what they're going for. And it's clear. Like, it's clear cut with Orlando. They traded, probably their 3 best players in Fournier. I feel bad for Terrence Ross. Like, we're not even talking about Terrence Ross. He is all alone on that team. He was tweeting some funny stuff earlier today.
Yeah. Nick, what did you think about the Norm Powell trade?
Yeah.
I felt like it was tough with Norm because he had so much opportunity this year with OG being out. He got to show the NBA and the world like what a good player he was, and he's demanding money this season, right? I don't think Masai and the Raps want to pay him, so you had to get something for him. I'm kind of in the camp with you, Oren. Like I thought we were going to get something more than what we did, but I like Gary Trent Jr. Like he's kind of, I think, in the same boat as Norm, where he got a lot more. Yeah, you're big Duke guy. I'm a Carolina guy, so I hate that sweater. But, I'll let you wear it today. He got a lot of run this year with CJ on the bench, and like I watched a bunch of Blazers games. Like they're on late, they're fun to watch, and he gets the ball a lot. And when he shot in the fourth quarter, tight games, like I thought it was going in, and I don't think that's nothing from a young guy. Like he's restricted free agent. I think he offers a lot of the same things that Norm does from a shooting perspective. He's young, like it's a good option, and it's better than nothing. Like we don't know what else was out there, right? But I think Hood. I'm not sure if he sticks around, but if Trent could develop into something, if we sign him for another couple of years, he could be. He's better than most of the guys on the bench we got right now. I know you guys talked about that with Lou a little bit. But,
for sure.
I don't know, maybe 7 out of 10. I'm not upset with it. I'm not exactly super high on it, but
honestly, if I were to guess, I think if no more deals get done, I think Trent will start for the Raptors. Like I would imagine they just stay small and start Trent instead of Norm Powell. He's significantly better than anyone coming off their bench right now. So yeah.
It depends what happens with Kyle, I guess. Like, is it 100% that he's getting traded?
I don't think so.
Kyle? I don't think it is. I don't think Masai's going to move him unless we get something back for him. And I you guys have been running the show, but I was watching just before. Shams has a show for The Athletic. He was saying the two things that are holding this deal up on either side for the Lakers and the Heat are Tyler Hero on the Heat and Talen Horton-Tucker on the Lakers.
Yeah,
like, what are you doing?
I don't know if I trust that. I don't know if I trust
I don't.
that.
I don't know.
Like the Lakers are run by. The Lakers are pretty much run by LeBron James, and there's no way LeBron is saying, I want this young player to be on this team for a while and be good. Well, he could get Kyle Lowry. I just think a lot of this stuff, a lot of these reports, man, I don't give too much weight to, especially considering the Raptors front office is so quiet. They don't leak that much. But yeah, I mean, what do you guys even think of a Lakers package? Would you be happy with like Horton Tucker and Schroeder and maybe a first down the road? Is that enough for you?
For me personally, it has to, like, if they're adding a pick to that, which I think like they almost have to.
They only have a 2027 first.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I was gonna say
really.
I was gonna say it's got to be like a 2023.
Yeah, but the good thing about that is LeBron's probably retired.
Yeah.
So it's probably a better pick.
Like, I'm a big fan.
There's no way to project that, right?
I know, that's the thing. LeBron can, like, at this point, the way LeBron looks, like, who knows? Like, I've been saying the last few years, LeBron has 3 years left, but I mean, who knows at this point? With Talen Horton-Tucker and Schroeder, I'm a fan of both guys. It's tough because, like, I don't know what the Raptors. I don't know if these packages are real. I don't know if we're just getting total farce or if like this Achua Harrell first rounder or Achua Duncan Robinson first rounder thing. Like, I don't know if this is all real. I don't know if what we're hearing is real, but I mean, we can assume it is. I'm not a fan of the Talen Horton-Tucker, Schroeder, or whatever it is. KCP, I think, is also in that deal. Or
they said Matthews maybe as well.
Yeah, because if I'm not mistaken, guys, Schroeder has to get paid in the offseason, no?
He does, and KCP is on a 3-year deal, which I really don't think the Raptors want to take any long-term salary. So I'm kind of with you guys. I don't like that deal for the Raptors.
No.
And then I also don't like the Duncan Robinson center deal, especially after they went out and got Gary Trent, who plays the same position as Duncan Robinson. That would not make much sense to me from a Raptors point of view. So I honestly feel like, especially with the Sixers getting George Hill, this is looking more and more like Kyle Lowry is just going to be a Raptor for the rest of the season. I'll ask a question based on if that is true. And that makes sense too, because they'll have bird rights on him. They could sign and trade him in the offseason, or if he wants to remain a Raptor and retire here, which was always kind of the dream, then they could just sign him to like a 2-year, maybe $40 to $50 million range. And that would be nice too.
I love that.
If they do keep Kyle and they got Gary Trent now, maybe they get a center on the buyout market. Where is Toronto ceiling this season?
Personally, I think it's a second round exit, but the top of the East is just so good. Like you see Brooklyn, Philly, Milwaukee too. I don't see us beating any of those teams in a 7-game series. I think it would be. I was talking about this with Zarar. Like for me, the biggest impact or the biggest thing to get out of a playoff run for the Raps is like get Siakam's confidence back and push him back to the place he was a year and a half ago. If we can get him back in Toronto, feeling himself again, that would be amazing. But like we're not winning anything with this team this year. It's just we just don't have the pieces. It's tough. So I'm almost in the camp of I wonder what it could look like if we do sell Lowry and start Trent and get a lottery pick. Like this is a pretty strong draft at the top, and I think that could be a pretty appealing thing. But in terms of a playoff run, second round exit at best, probably.
Yeah,
if I'm betting on it,
I'm with you. Second round is like at this point the way our team looks. Second round, the absolute best. And you said, Oren, like if we do get into that buyout market, if we do get that 5, because right now I'm completely shocked. I don't know. Toronto at this point, I don't think they've gotten. I'm refreshing Wojnarowski's page. I don't think they've acquired any sort of 5, or there's been even no reports of Toronto being interested in a 5. So
they haven't done anything yet.
So we'll see. We'll see. I think second round exit is a pipe dream at this point. Like that is like to get to the second round in the first place is crazy because if Toronto's going in as a play-in or as a 7th seed or an 8th seed, like to me, they're not beating the Nets. They're not beating the 76ers. To be quite honest, they're probably not the way they're looking this season. They're not beating Boston and they're not beating Miami. So
yeah, I mean,
the only way I see it is if we have some weird matchup like if we get to the 5 seed somehow and let's say I don't know Atlanta is in the 4 seed,
like
right?
an Atlanta or Charlotte
or the Knicks,
but like if it's Boston or the Knicks, if it's Boston or any of those top 3 teams in the first round, like just call it right now. We're not going to beat them.
Yeah, I don't see that at all. It's difficult because I at this point, even if Lowry gets traded, what are we going to do at the 5 position? Are we going to be buyout? Players in the buyout market, who knows? Maybe Nick Nurse has told the front office that, hey, let's try this Anunoby at center thing long term, see at least for the long term for this season, and see how it goes from there. But even the depth, like you can't. I don't know about you guys, but I'm so tired of Baines coming off the bench for his little 15-minute stints.
We got to get Baines off this team before
3 minutes last night. Nurse was like, nope.
Yeah,
we got 15 minutes to trade. To trade Aaron
and it's
Baines.
hilarious because Baines
they always spill over an extra 30 though.
Yeah, I know.
These guys never call it.
That's true.
With Baines, it's different because like every game, it feels like Nurse is like, let me just give this a try, see if this
I
works.
know it's weird.
And then
how is he not giving up yet? Like, you gave up on Matt Thomas after 5 games. How are you still? How do you believe in Baines this much? Like, you have too much confidence in him.
Yeah. We'll see.
I think they are going to be buyout guys for centers just because I think they want to keep their cap space full because there's a bunch of centers who are restricted free agents this offseason. And Toronto having 20 mil now that, that's the biggest part of the Gary Trent deal, which I've hit on. But anyone who's just tuning in, like the Raptors now have about 8 million more to spend in free agency because the cap hold is so much lower than norms would have been. So they have more than $20 to go get a John Collins, go and get a Rajon Holmes, go and get a Jared Allen type of guy, which obviously is the cream of the crop. But I think that's their strategy to wait until the offseason and go be aggressive. So I don't really see them giving up assets now to get one of those guys or to get a center who's, just going to be a marginal upgrade when they could wait. And, like we all agree on, they're not real championship competitors right now, even if they got a center.
Yeah, some minor Lowry news just came out. Nothing too serious, but Brian Windhorst from ESPN, as of now, he says the Heat are still not interested in including Tyler Herro in a Kyle Lowry trade package. That's Brian Windhorst again from ESPN. I got Windy. Or Windy, whatever. Is it Windhorst? Windhorst?
Windhorst, yeah. It's Windhorst.
Apologies for that.
Are you guys surprised?
Or no neck, as Draymond Green likes to call him.
Are you guys surprised that Philly and that Miami doesn't want to offer Herro and Philly doesn't want to offer, I guess, the package that was reported that Toronto was looking for was Maxey Tybal and 2 firsts?
I'm absolutely shocked that Daryl Morey hasn't called that in 5 weeks ago. What are you doing? Kyle Lowry's one of the best players who can help a team win a championship available in years at the trade deadline day, right? And I think people are talking about how is Simmons going to play off ball? I think Lowry can play off ball. He showed that with Fred running a ton of sets for the boys this season. So, I think that takes Philly and brings them from a spot where they're contending to win the East and makes them a real title threat. So I think super confused as to why they wouldn't call that deal in. I don't get it.
The craziest part for me, guys, is that people talk about this being like a monumental day for the Raptors. I think it's even bigger for the 76ers because all of their fans have made it clear on Twitter that they might not be good enough to beat the Nets in a 7-game series. They might not be like they don't have a clear-cut lane to the finals. And I think for Daryl Morey, this stubbornness of not, just unloading for Kyle Lowry, I personally think he already made a mistake in not unloading assets earlier for James Harden when they were reportedly in those sweepstakes. Pairing James, I don't care what people say. Top of the East right now. I don't care what you say. Yes, Ben Simmons and Embiid, they fit well together, but James Harden and Embiid would have been disgusting to watch. Like that would have been crazy. And
that one, it was kind of reported that, or no one knows for sure, but since Daryl Morey came from Houston, it might have been a situation where they didn't want to trade with Daryl Morey. So at least you can kind of understand that. This one makes less sense to me because I guess my biggest question is, do they think they're championship competitors right now? Because I don't think they are. Like, I don't think Philly is good enough to win it all this year. I'm still a little hesitant on your leaders of the team being Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid. They're just really young, and they don't have enough experience to really give me confidence in them. I think Kyle would be perfect, but there is like the understanding that maybe Kyle wouldn't re-sign there, and then you're trading all of your assets for a 35-year-old who could walk. I think that is probably what's keeping them from going all in on him, because there have been reports that he wants to sign in Miami. But the timeline is now. Like, Joel Embiid has a serious injury history, right? Like, he's an MVP right now. The timeline is now. Go out and do something. George Hill he's not putting you over any edge, right?
Yeah, for sure. Guys, it's 2:50 p.m. Eastern time. The deadline is officially 10 minutes away. We're going to keep this going a little longer than the 3 p.m. mark, just because, things happen after 3 p.m. Last-second deals get done. But as of now, guys, we can still tell you that Kyle Lowry is still a Toronto Raptor. Windhorst, I believe, made another report. I'm sure he has to be live right now as well. He says Raptors now soliciting final offers for Lowry 15 minutes from the deadline. So he said that 5 minutes ago. Kyle Lowry has not been traded. He's still a Toronto Raptor. I don't know about you guys. I'm still 100% on board with Kyle Lowry being a Toronto Raptor. I'm okay with him being a Toronto Raptor past this season. At this point, I don't think that ruins any timelines or anything really for Toronto. And I'm sure his teammates, his staff, everyone's going to be happy with having Kyle back. But yeah, one trade did happen. If you are joining us right now, Norman Powell was traded to the Portland Trail Blazers for Gary Trent Jr. and Rodney Hood. And Matt Thomas was traded to the Utah Jazz for a future second-round pick. Those are the two trades that have happened so far in Raptorland. We are awaiting the final blow, I guess you could say, if it is coming, the impending blow.
Yeah.
What would you do right now if we just heard Raptors sign Miles Turner, trade for Turner?
Oh man, I would love
Masai
that.
just flips it on us.
Yeah, no, I would love. I've made it clear the last couple of days on Twitter that Miles Turner has been a guy that I think would fit at like literally a perfect puzzle fit beside Pascal Siakam in terms of timeline, their age, everything. His contract is really, really good. It's really, really. I believe it's $18 million for the next 2 or 3 years, which is really good for a guy that brings his sort of talent level at his age. So I'm a big fan of Miles Turner. I don't know if that's a possibility now, but Miles, I would never, ever turn down a Miles Turner trade unless it was completely lopsided. I'm looking at the live comments are going pretty crazy now, I think, naturally, because the final 10 minutes of the trade deadline. We have some people betting on Lowry staying, some people who want him on a contender. This comment is kind of where I am, but also like I'm on the fence. Like I want Kyle Lowry to stay, but then also that last sentence really rings with me. That Kyle is better.
I think I would be more there if Kyle didn't win a ring, because I mean maybe he's content with playing out, like retiring in an organization he's really comfortable in a city he's comfortable in, you know, where he's the leader, and you know, like at that age, going to another team and like completely like upsetting your roots is kind of like, maybe it's a decision he doesn't want. Oh, someone's saying TD traded. I really hope that's
news.
true.
Yep, Toronto trades Terence Davis to Sacramento for a future second-round pick. Okay, they got to be clearing space. Thomas, Davis for picks that they don't need.
Interesting. I mean, even if they're not, honestly, I like it. Not only because the off-court antics, but also just because they have so many guards right now. This opens up playing time for Malachi Flynn, Paul Watson, those type of guys. Now that Terence Davis and Matt Thomas are out of the situation, so I like that. He has not been good at all this year. I think that'll buy the Raptors some happiness with the Raptors fan base. Honestly, we've been kind of calling for this, and yeah, what do you guys think?
Yeah, I mean, it looks like they're clearing space, but at the same time, people can say like they're clearing this for a Lowry trade. People like it was a 2-for-1, the first trade that went down, the norm for Trent and Rodney Hood. You could say this is them clearing space, roster space, but at the same time, I mean, this is good value. Like Terence Davis, everyone knows what our views are of him, but I'm not going to go too crazy on Terence Davis. He struggled this year. Matt Thomas has struggled this year on the court. Again, Terence Davis is he came off a very good rookie season, but once his role expanded this year and Nurse kind of put a little bit more on his plate, we saw what happened. He kind of got exposed defensively. Offensively, he just looked like he wasn't meshing really well with the guys that were on the court. So he's going to the Kings now for a second-round pick. We wish all of the Raptors departing, the best with their careers. Matt Thomas, Norm Powell, and Terence Davis. Hopefully they find greener pastures. But I don't have much else to say. Like, I think this is fair value for what Toronto has gotten from Terence Davis this season. I think a future second rounder is fair value.
Yeah, and I guess we don't know when this second rounder is, but the fact that Toronto now has their first, their second, and Golden State second in this upcoming draft means they'll have a little bit of freedom to move up in the draft if they want to target a specific player. So that's always nice flexibility to have, especially for players who weren't playing and weren't part of the future plans.
Yeah.
Davis reuniting with his old bud DeLon Wright too.
Oh, good point.
A couple Raptors getting back together.
Couple Raptors. That was a cool trade too. The Corey Joseph and I believe a second rounder or 2 second rounders for DeLon. Was that what it was?
That was weird. I don't know why Detroit did that, but good
Detroit has almost made it clear cut that they are tanking. Like every comment that Dwayne Casey's given this year from the Detroit Pistons has been that they're tanking. He said something along the lines of, in 3 years, you guys will see where we're at or something like that. It's like, Dwayne, are you even going to last that long? And I love Dwayne Casey as a coach, by the way. This isn't me getting at Dwayne Casey. It's just naturally, if you're a coach of a team that's struggling for 2+ seasons, you're probably not going to be there for the third. So that was cool to see 2 former Raptors being traded for each other. Definitely. Corey Joseph, a Canadian, goes to the Kings, and DeLon Wright, a former Raptor, goes to – or sorry, I apologize. Corey Joseph goes to the Pistons, and DeLon Wright, a former Raptor, moves on to the Kings. I don't know.
Hey, we got Zarar. Zarar's in the – oh,
okay.
He left.
Zarar just wanted to show himself for a second.
He wants in. I mean, I think
JJ Redick to the Mavs.
Yes,
now.
This is when the deals are probably going to start pouring in.
Get Luka's assists up.
Yeah. Where did you see the JJ Redick to the Dallas Mavericks?
Shams just tweeted it.
Okay, so that's
Zarar's in the house. Zarar, what are your thoughts about the Powell deal?
A Powell deal. We get somebody basically younger, right? I mean, we got somebody younger with potentially more upside, maybe. I guess that's the play there. But hey, I want to talk about something else, man. Lowry, there aren't any takers right now. Jay Liu just tweeted that it's getting late in the game and offers for Lowry are underwhelming. And this is sort of kind of what we had feared at the end, was that I think we maybe hung on to him a little too long, honestly. And now we're not getting the offers that we maybe thought we were going to get at the deadline, because teams just aren't desperate enough, and there are more guys available to, just the supply is greater, basic economics, you know what I mean? So what do you guys think of, how do you guys feel about this underwhelming tweet that Jay Liu kind of made, Oren?
Honestly, I'm okay with it. Like, Kyle Lowry, Masai's made it clear. Like, every report we've gotten from Grange, from Wojnarowski, from Shams has been clear that Masai is not gonna just let Kyle Lowry go for peanuts. Like, he's gonna try and max out his value completely. And I think the reason for that is because Masai is okay with keeping Kyle Lowry. Like, I don't think it's one of those things where he has to go and Masai's scared of losing him for nothing. I think Kyle Lowry is the type of player where he can get, I don't even want to say coaxed. I think he can be back after this offseason, and Raptors fans, at least the majority, I think, will be okay with it. And again, I don't think it ruins their timeline. He's still a very good player. He's having a very good season. I believe he's still having the best shooting season of his career so far. So I'm okay. It is about to be 3:00 p.m., guys.
I'm okay with keeping Lowry. I think any deal is going to make them worse in the short term. And this Trent deal signals that they don't want to go through any long rebuild. Like, I'm sure they could have got a first-round pick for Norm if that's the way they wanted to go, but they wanted a good player right now. It seems like the Raptors just want to stay competitive and do what they've always done. And also, if they don't trade Kyle, that's also okay, because we'll have bird rights. And, like, considering there's not many good teams with cap space this summer, the fact that you can sign and trade him to one of the teams that doesn't have cap space, maybe, you can get the same kind of a good deal then. But let's see what happens in these last 5 minutes, because it's still very possible.
Like the one thing that's kind of bugging me is that, like, I love Lowry staying, you know what I mean? Like, I mean, it kind of leaves that window open that we're still sort of contending this season, because you saw what this team is sort of capable of by winning like 8 in a row and beating the Bucks and Sixers. So you have that hope to kind of pull you through the season, and hopefully once everybody gets back healthy and fully in form, we may do something. But the one thing that is sort of bugging me is that we have not addressed the center position at all. Like, we are in the exact same position, we haven't done anything there. So I just don't know. I feel like that's going to kill us, man.
Oh, and also Victor Oladipo hasn't been traded, which is kind of weird.
I don't know.
But you're right.
Yeah. I want to get Nick's thoughts on the center position, man.
Dude, well, it's an absolute shit show. Our best center weighs 170 pounds, and you can't play him when real centers are on the court for the other team, and the other guy can't even catch a ball properly. So it's a bit of a strange situation. Yeah, we talked about it. Like, I think our chances in the playoffs against top 3 are slim to none, regardless. But when we don't have somebody who can guard Giannis, KD, DeAndre Jordan, and any of these guys go down the line and like, it's just we're gonna get absolutely killed. And I think small ball works against some teams. You can play OG at the 5, but against the good ones, you need somebody who you can keep on the court for 25, 30 minutes a night. And that guy does not play for the Toronto Raptors right now. So it's going to be painful if we don't address that. I think like maybe a buyout guy could be somebody we look at, because clearly we haven't addressed it today, but it's tough. Not many centers getting above D's these days in the QRs.
Yeah.
I'll tell you
so I'm going to warn everyone right now. If you do have a Twitter account and you are scavenging through Twitter, be very wary, because there are fake accounts. The Adrian Wojnarowski. That's why I knew you saw it, Oren, because I saw it at the exact same time.
Yeah.
The Adrian Wojnarowski fake accounts, the Shams fake accounts are all out. People copy their profile pictures. So if you see a Kyle Lowry trade, relax in the comments.
Who is wasting their time making fake Woj accounts?
Dude, people do horrible things on the internet.
Small dick energy is what that is.
At least, like, I'd rather people do that than like the dark things that go on in the darker parts of the web. But yeah, I liked Blake Murphy's idea of trading TD for someone like Kem Birch. Clearly, that didn't happen. They went for picks instead. But the Drummond thing, which we just had on the screen, that's obviously ideal for Toronto, but they have expressed interest in him. But he probably, if he has his choice, is going to go play in LA. You would think, right? But at the same time, if he wants a bigger role, a definite starting role, then Toronto is not like the worst option. I just don't know how Andre Drummond thinks.
Yeah, a few things have happened on the trade deadline, by the way, while we've been talking the last 5 minutes. Drummond, as you can see on the comment that's highlighted, he has been bought out by the Cavaliers, so he's going to reach the buyout market. Lonzo Ball on the New Orleans Pelicans is staying, as far as I know, according to Adrian Wojnarowski. What else am I seeing here? Bobby Marks just tweeted that, just a reminder that the trade call does not have to happen by 3:00 p.m. for a trade to become finalized. All parties just need to be on a call by 3:00 p.m. to confirm the details, end quote. So my stomach's turning, guys. I don't know about you guys. My stomach is turning. It looks like all of Raptors Twitter's falling for that fake Adrian Wojnarowski Twitter account from what I can see.
Yeah,
the Lakers is the new thing. So we're not. If you guys had any like brief fleeting thoughts that he might come here, not that he would be an amazing fit for the Raptors, but in case you thought he'd be here, the Lakers are considered a favorite. So, but I'm out of here. Enjoy the rest of the show.
Take care,
man.
Thanks, sir.
Bulls just traded Mo Wagner to the Celtics for Daniel Tice. So Daniel Tice going to the Bulls. I kind of like what the Bulls are doing. I don't know. I guess Vucevic is still their starting five, and Tice is coming off the bench.
Yeah, but they also just got one. Oh no, they didn't. Oh yeah,
Wendell's going
but
to Orlando.
they have Lauri Markkanen, who's a backup five. So
yeah, they still haven't gotten rid of him, as far as we know.
No.
I thought they were for sure going to
something.
trade Markkanen. Like they're the same. They play the same position.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Gosh.
But it looks like Orlando probably wanted Wendell Carter in that deal, and then they wanted to keep one of their young centers. But
we're 5 minutes past the deadline, guys.
I mean, how would you guys feel if, like, yesterday watching these Raptors, I was just like, honestly, I'm not ready for Kyle Lowry to be traded. So I did say my ideal. I said last night my ideal deadline is you trade Norm and you keep Lowry. I was expecting a little more Norm, a little more in the package, maybe. But if this is all they do, how would you guys feel about that? Would you be a little disappointed in the deadline?
I'll let Nick go first.
No, for me, sorry, go ahead. Yeah, like, I don't know. I think a part of this whole thing that's being overlooked is that the big asset that we're getting back from these tier one teams are draft picks, right? They're draft picks that are probably going to fall within like 22 to 30, 22s being probably optimistic. And the guy who we want making those picks is Masai, right? Is he even going to be here? He hasn't resigned his deal. So, like, we're getting these picks that they come in 2-3 years. If Masai goes to run the Knicks, God forbid, and he's not here, then I know I trust Bobby, but, like, I really do think Masai's been the architect of this whole thing, you know, since back in the day when we made the Rudy Gay trade trying to tank, and this whole winning basketball games thing started to happen here, and, you know, look what it brought us. So I don't know. The uncertainty around Masai makes me really hesitant to get excited over any of these packages. So I'm not too upset with Kyle staying and you know, potentially being re-signed for a year or two. What do you think, Sahal?
Yeah, we'll see. Like, I'm okay. Again, considering all circumstances regarding the Norm trade, the Matt Thomas and the Terence Davis trades, I'm mostly okay with, considering how they've played this season and considering what I would look at as both of their potential, their ceilings in this league. Future second, what the Raptors have done with picks, like, since Masai has been here, I'm okay with trading at this point anything for a second round pick, because Masai somehow turns second round picks and undrafted picks and late first rounders into stars. So I'm okay with the trades thus far. But again, Zarar mentioned it while he was here. We need a five. And I don't know, maybe Masai has something working in the background where he knows of certain players that are going to hit the buyout market. Maybe a second rounder that we acquired, you know, from the Thomas trade, from the Terence Davis trade. Maybe he packages both of those for a five. Who knows? Like, the phones are still working. Guys are still being traded. By the way, the Hornets, small trade. Hornets are acquiring Golden State Warriors Brad Wanamaker, and that's from Shams. Everyone's losing it on Twitter completely. So trades are still happening. People are still on the phone. I'm assuming every GM on the league is still on the phone, maybe except for Danny Ainge. No Danny Ainge. I think I'll do enough of that on Twitter. I don't want to leave. I don't want to bring it here, but live chat looks good. Everyone's still kind of losing it a bit, but a lot of people are talking about Baines, moving Baines. People are saying get Cousins, Dwayne Dedman.
I don't really like any of the buyout guys other than Drummond in terms of who could actually help us win this year. But I don't know. I feel like if the Raptors hold steady on one hand, I like it because there's a lot of sentimental value in keeping Kyle Lowry and letting him kind of run it out.
Oladipo to Miami.
Oh my goodness.
Well, I think that pretty much seals it.
That takes
Lowry.
Miami out.
I never thought the Lakers were a real Lowry destination. So if I were to guess, that probably means, Kyle's staying, which honestly makes me happy. I'm not going to lie.
Wow. So Houston is trading Victor Oladipo to the Miami Heat. And
we don't know what yet, but
yeah. The return's not there yet. Wojnarowski's probably going to come with that, or Shams in the next few minutes.
Also, Demar Derozan did not get moved, which they said yesterday he was on the market and he said he was not going to re-sign in San Antonio. Mm-hmm. So it's kind of interesting that he also didn't get moved today. But what do you guys think about Oladipo to Miami?
If he's healthy, I like it. But sorry, go ahead.
No, yeah, I was gonna say the same thing. If he's healthy, that's a good move for Miami. I like how he pairs with them. I think Oladipo's a guy that you could really throw into any team, and he'd almost fit. Is it the same Oladipo you're getting from 2-3 years ago? Probably not. But I mean, looking at what he's done in Houston, surrounded by players that a lot of times just look like they don't want to be there, Oladipo can be a very good player for a team that believes they can contend. I don't know if Miami's there yet. Again, I think 76ers and the Nets are the clear-cut top dogs of the East. And then you have like the Miamis and Bostons underneath them. But we'll see. We'll see. I mean, I'm saying that now about Philly, but Philly's been bullied the last few years by Boston. So I can't really this is a different Philly team, obviously, but I can't really put too much faith in them. But I've always said my thing is that the Nets are going to come out of the East. Unless something drastic happens. I think they're finally learning how to play with each other. James Harden's reached another level. People are really starting to realize that James Harden is one of the best playmakers in the league. He's an MVP candidate. People kept saying, oh, well, Kyrie, Harden, and Durant, there's only one ball. James Harden's played on Team USA, and he's done really well there, and he knows what it takes to win. So I'm not worried about that. Obviously, adding Durant adds a whole different situation, but
so it's Woj tweets it's official. Raptors are keeping Kyle.
Lowry stay.
Breathe a sigh of relief.
Lowry
So
stay.
cute.
Gotta put that as the.
It's a bit awkward now, isn't it?
This is interesting because Philly doesn't have the cap space to sign Lowry in the offseason. They're capped out. Miami just traded for Oladipo, which signals that they probably want to sign him, or else, unless it's just a rental. But that would be, I mean, we still haven't seen what they're giving for Oladipo, so maybe it's a rental price, and they're still gonna go after Lowry. But if they do try to re-sign Oladipo, they don't have the space for Lowry. And honestly, like if the Raptors can get, other than that, no competitors, no good teams have cap space. So if the Raptors can get Kyle on like a 2-year, $40 million deal, I think that's a steal in some ways, just keeping the leader of your team and your point guard as he kind of, because I think Kyle has like a game that's going to age pretty well, especially he's become such a good shooter, such a good facilitator. His defense has dropping off a little bit this year, but he's always in the right place at the right time, which isn't like a speed thing. It doesn't depend on athletics or speed. So
I'm so happy.
this does
I also
look
think like
more and
what
more.
what he brings to this team from a leadership standpoint, even if, we say guys tail off after 35, whatever, like the benefit that guys like Malachi Flynn and whoever we draft this year, maybe it's a guard, right? Like just keeping on mentoring Fred and Obi, like I think the positive energy that he gets, like I wrote last night in our QR, like he had a box score. It wasn't like anything godly, the stats. I think he was close to a triple double, nothing like that was going to make it on Sports Center. But we love Kyle because he makes everybody better around him, right? There's stats. Blake came out with an article a year or two ago just showing that literally every Raptor that's ever played basketball with Kyle, their stats are more positive when they're on the floor with him. And I think it does wonders for the future of this team, even long beyond when Kyle's on it. So I'm really happy he's staying, even if he's not going to be the offensive juggernaut in like 2 years that he has been in recent years.
Guys, I can't say how happy I am right now. Like I'm so happy.
Oh, Lewis is going
Lowry.
to join us, guys. Our friend Lewis Zatzman from Raptors Republic. Welcome to the show. How you doing, buddy?
He's staying.
He's staying, guys?
Let us
Lowry
rejoice
is
in
there.
prayer.
What?
Lewis, immediate thoughts, Lewis, on Kyle Lowry staying.
Man, so what a trade deadline. I mean, last night was sort of surreal. The Raptors spent all this time, media spent all this time saying goodbye.
Yeah.
Like every reporter had a end of their question where they said, good luck tomorrow, and it's being nice. No, Will Lou ended the entire press conference by being like, for all Toronto media, thank you for the championship in the years. God bless, my friend.
Yeah.
It was a funeral.
Real
It was a
quick,
funeral.
I watched that presser, and honestly, that was a 10 out of 10 presser from Kyle. Like, he was so good. But go on.
No, man, like he was incredible. He was prepared to go. Media was prepared to lose him, and yet he stayed. I mean, almost certainly just for the second half of the season. But I'm pretty happy. Like
you don't think they re-sign him?
I mean, maybe, but it's going to be the same thing where re-signing Lowry is going to be sort of a unlikely situation, just like him staying was unlikely because he was willing to go, and he would have gone if Toronto got a better package. And now in the offseason, it's going to be up to Lowry, right? It's not like Masai is going to have control over whether they pull the trigger or not, or even if Masai is going to be here, right? So a lot of question marks in the future. But for now, this Tampa season, Gary Trent Jr., Kyle Lowry, looking up or what?
Rodney Hood, you don't want to see the Raptors in the play-in game. Let me tell you that.
No, I was going to say, Lewis, Oladipo went to the Heat. So naturally do you think the assumption was that Miami was the last team in play? A lot of people thought 76ers were out once I think they acquired George Hill during the deadline. As soon as the Oladipo news dropped, a minute later, Wojnarowski reported that Kyle Lowry was staying. So do you think that Miami was that last team that was going back and forth?
Yeah, I mean, I think it was probably only Miami and Philadelphia. It sounded to me like, I mean, Toronto, let's talk about how the Raptors leaked more today than like in the history of the Masai era. That was crazy messy. And it was just trying to drum up interest, right? Because they just didn't have
strategic, I think.
Yeah. And so, it came down to Philly and Miami, and they just didn't put in the offers Toronto wanted, ever. Like, if Taylor Horton-Tucker was offered, Toronto's not making that deal. That's crazy. That wasn't a real thing that was going to happen, right?
Yeah, I'm with you. Just so we know, everyone knows, the Rockets are getting back Avery Bradley, Kelly Olynyk, and a 2022 pick swap from Miami. So not a high price to play. Yeah, not a huge price to play, but also like Oladipo hasn't been very good this season, so I don't think it's really hard to get over Kendrick Nunn in like the pecking order of that team. But it's also it's a low cost flyer, but I would also be surprised if Oladipo is all of a sudden like a huge contributor in the playoffs. So it's interesting, I think, that no teams in the East did anything significant today, right? Like, did any contenders remember back to last trade deadline where it was like the opposite of this? Did any contenders really do anything today in the East, at least?
Miami, the Oladipo, 76ers, George Hill did get moved, right? Or was that
to Philly?
George Hill to the 76ers. Did Milwaukee do anything?
No, but they made their move for PJ Tucker a few days ago. Which I like. I would honestly argue that's the best move out of. I don't know if you guys agree, but I think PJ Tucker is the most influential piece that got traded in the Eastern Conference team, because just the ability to play him at the 4 beside Giannis at the 5. I really like that lineup as a small ball look for Milwaukee. I'm not sure if any of the other deals pushed any of these teams over the edge, and I'm confused why Philly didn't really do anything.
I think if Boston makes the playoffs, they're going to be unbelievable with Evan Fournier. That guy is so underrated.
Yeah,
that was a low price to pay, too. I like that deal.
That's really good.
What was the price
defensively,
for Evan Fournier?
though? I wonder, can you keep that guy on the court?
Oh, yeah, he's a good defender. Fournier's a good defender.
He's active, yeah.
Yeah. The price was the same as for Rajon Rondo also.
That's crazy. I mean, the salary is different.
What is that?
But, like, what were the Clippers doing? Like, goodness gracious.
If Kawhi leaves that team, man, they're really going to be just a laughing stock again for a long time. Because they've screwed up their future pretty bad. I do too, man. If they don't make the finals run, I think like people think because he went home, everyone's like, well, he's just going to stay home, be content. But I think like he expected to win and be home. Yeah. And the fact that they're not winning might force him to be like, you know what? I kind of want to win. I don't want to just be bad in my hometown.
If they have another early exit this year, I think I'd put money on him leaving.
Yeah, for sure. Do you guys like the Vucevic to the Bulls in the next tier, I want to say, of the Eastern Conference? Do you guys think that takes them to another level, maybe increases their ceiling in the playoffs a bit? I'll ask Lewis first.
Yeah, I thought Vucevic to the Bulls actually made it more likely Lowry went. Because if the Bulls are going to make a playoff spot, which I think they have to now, like the Raptors just have that much harder a path. And so, I think the Bulls are probably like a pretty easy pick for 6th, 7th seed, like fighting there with Atlanta, Boston. And man, I'm happy Kyle Lowry's staying because I love the guy. But realistically, without knowing what they get in the buyout market, there's still open roster spots. Realistically, do you think they're better than, say, the Bulls? Like, will they end up with a better record?
No.
No.
I don't think they'll end up let me be real quick. I don't think they'll end up with a better record,
than the Bulls.
But I think they're better. Yeah, I think in a playoff series, they're absolutely better. But I don't think they'll make up the record.
Oh, for sure. No, I think 100% they're better. But the record is the question that matters in the regular season, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm of the thought that the Raptors can beat every non-76ers, Nets, Miami, Bucks, Boston team.
Not the NBA.
And then other than that, I think Raptors cruise like in the playoffs. But do they get to that point? I don't know. I don't think so. What the Raptors have done today, I think, puts them in a position where they're still competitive. They beat Denver last night, a very, very, very good Denver Nuggets team. And they didn't just beat them, they beat the brakes off them. So we saw like the potential this team has when they really want to play and when they reach their full ceiling. So who knows? I'm excited to see Gary Trent. We do have, I think, one open roster spot. We traded away three guys, and we got back Rodney Hood and Gary Trent.
2 open slots.
Yeah. I mean, I think this deadline day, I don't think you can judge it until the offseason. I think if Kyle Lowry walks without you getting either re-signing him to a reasonable deal or sign and trading him, I think that's honestly an L for the Raptors because like we've all agreed on, they're not winning a championship this season. But I also think there's a pretty good chance one of those two things happen. And the other thing with the Norm trade is you can't entirely judge it until you see what they do in free agency. They opened up a lot of cap space. They have more than $20 million to spend potentially on one of these young centers we've been talking about, restricted free agents. So, I mean, we'll be able to much better judge it. Right now, it seems a little bit underwhelming. But, I mean, from a fan perspective, it's kind of nice that we get to watch competitive games for the rest of the season, not just watch them tank. But it's funny how quickly things change.
So
Sorry, go ahead.
My one question about the competitive games is Powell is the only guy putting rim pressure, in the half-court offense when Siakam is fading. settling for post fadeaways. They did not get a center. I don't think Drummond chooses them in the buyout market. Are they realistically going to be competitive? Because I actually think Gary Trent Jr. is going to be better than Powell even as early as next season.
Okay.
Like, he just fits better with the core. He's defensively much more malleable.
Yeah.
But this season, Powell was so critical for Toronto, and they didn't replace those. Maybe Hood. Like, is Hood going to be closing? I don't know if Toronto really is going to be competitive, even though they kept Lowry.
Yeah, it's difficult. Their bench is still weak as ever. Rodney's coming off the bench, but you do lose Terence Davis, who was in and out of the rotation. Matt Thomas was But again, you're going to have to rely on guys like Baines, who a lot of people have struggled to put together words for his season this year, to put it politely. Are they going to be competitive? It depends what lens. I mean, we did beat Denver. I'm not going to go too crazy over the Denver win, but I've always felt that the team constructed right now, as I see it, is able to beat a Denver. Maybe not consistently, but we have the ability to beat the upper tier teams. We did beat the Bucks and the 76ers before everybody, it seemed like, went down with COVID. So I'm with Oren, where I'm excited because this team is still watchable, and I feel like if a Kyle Lowry trade did go down, yes, we're all Raptors fans and we cover the Raptors, so we're all gonna be watching the Raptors regardless. But guys,
it's been a rough year for me and Sal.
I'm so happy that Kyle Lowry stayed. Like, I literally, as soon as this stream goes down, I'm doing something.
Drinking hard alcohol.
I'm obviously stoked that Kyle stayed, but I had a bit of a pipe dream with the landslide they just went on that we were gonna have a hope, at least, of maybe getting a top 7, top 8 pick. But I think we gotta kiss that goodbye now.
Yeah. To answer your question, Lewis, I think they will be competitive. I just think I think last night's game was a pretty good example of, Powell was not the guy, right? He didn't play a major factor in that win. And obviously you do need his scoring. I think Trent will slide into that starting lineup. They'll stay small. Like you said, I mean, it all goes back to defense for me. The biggest problem this season for me has been defense. And that's at least a marginal upgrade defensively right away.
Well, it's a big upgrade.
Yeah. And like you said, the rim is going to be a huge problem. They're going to have to find different ways to get guys involved, whether it's more post-up situations, whether it's using, I think OG is immediately going to be funneled into a role where he'll have some of those downhill actions for him. I think they'll replicate some of Powell's scoring. And also, I think we have to consider, the COVID thing. They're getting their legs back under them. They're getting more used to Tampa Bay. I think all of these things will factor in to them just looking better than they've looked this season, because they've played about as bad as they could have.
What are you guys gonna miss most about Norm?
Oh man, as soon as I got happy about the Lowry news, you're gonna hit me with that.
For me, it's his dunks, man. We don't have very many in-game dunkers on this team anymore, and Norm was a crazy first guy who, he could give you some fun dunks out of nowhere too.
Yeah. For me,
I loved his. Yeah, go for it.
No, go ahead, Nick.
I loved his slashing. The guy has an inch of space and he's just so aggressive. And I think the Raps really needed that this season, especially with OG out. Just somebody to spark offense when, Kyle didn't have it. Fred wasn't hitting his shots early. Norm was kind of that guy who we looked to as an offensive release valve early in games. And I think he answered the call more times than not. And it's probably the reason why so many teams wanted him. But I'm going to miss the aggression he brought every night for sure.
The explosiveness, the aggression on the court, I'm going to miss. I think we're all going to miss Norm's attitude towards basketball. His whole UTG, understand the grind, movement was picking up steam, I think, in Toronto. And I said it on Twitter. He's one of the most likable Raptors. He was passionate, but was never, I think, outspoken. He was more of a reserved, passionate guy. On the court, you see his passion come out. But, I mean, off the court, normally he was a reserved guy. And I remember, like, as soon as he joined Toronto, the first few reports that came out were about his work ethic. The guy works like no other. So I'm going to miss him. And he said it. Lewis was at the press conference last night where he said if it were up to him, he would want to stay, or like, at least I'm paraphrasing that, he grew up with these guys, and, guys like Kyle and Fred taught him the game. And so it's tough. It's tough. It's tough to see a guy like Norm go, but I'm rooting for him. Like, this makes me want to watch Portland that much more. Like, Portland was already a fun team to watch. I'm watching almost every game now.
So I went to Portland for my honeymoon. My wife and I went
Nice.
down the West Coast and, just rented a car. We spent a couple days in Portland. Norm's going to love it there, man. Portland's a fun city. They just, like, one day we were just walking around. We stumbled into the largest rose garden in the world, the International Rose Test Garden. Portland's a cool city.
Yeah, super cool. Super
That's
cool.
beautiful, man.
I know we all follow, or at least I think we all follow Cigar, who's like the voice of the Blazers on Twitter. And he's taken some pictures of Oregon, and Oregon's a beautiful state. So Norm's going to have no problem. Everyone knows how beautiful Toronto is. Like, we don't have to kind of hype up our own city, but Oregon's a beautiful place. Norm's going to love it there. He's going to love playing beside another elite point guard in Dame Lillard, an MVP candidate in Dame Lillard. And Portland just seems like the vibes there have been really, really good the last, I want to say, 4 or 5 years in terms of in the locker room. So I think he'll like it. I think he'll enjoy it. He'll have fun. They need him. But at the same time, does it solve Portland's major defensive issues? Probably not, but you can't really say they've gone wrong getting a player like Norm, especially with what Norm's done this season for Toronto.
I totally spent most of yesterday writing a Kyle Lowry eulogy.
I thought about it.
We'll hold it until the off season, or potentially longer, it looks like. But I'm happy, man. I'm happy he's still there. I think people underrate how bad they could have been if they traded Kyle Lowry for young pieces. I don't think the core is really ready to take that load on right now.
Twitter's finally calmed down, guys. Like, I'm going through it.
It's over. Today was stressful.
Oh, man. I think the first thing I'm going to do when I get off this stream is hop into the 76ers Reddit. I just want to see what their take is on how close they were to Lowry, and even Miami. I'm sure they're happy with getting Oladipo for essentially role players. And I think, was it a pick involved in that as well?
Second round,
pick
I think.
Swap. No, pick swap.
It was a pick swap.
Oh, it was a pick swap. Okay.
So I'm sure Heat fans are okay with it for the most part. Their team looks like it got better on paper. But 76ers fans, I don't know. I wouldn't be happy if I was a 76ers fan, because I said it 10, 15 minutes ago that they should have been in the Harden sweepstakes. They should have came out with James Harden in the first place, and I think that would have made the 76ers the team to beat in the entire league. That's my opinion. But they didn't. They missed out on Lowry as well. Who knows what the final staking point was? We'll probably find out. Wojnarowski or Shams will let us know and confirm what it is. But yeah, I'd be pissed if I was a 76ers fan. I'd be pissed. I'd be angry.
Yeah, I think the time to go is now for them, right? Like,
yeah, this is their window.
Brooklyn's only going to get better, and if you're going to take advantage of them, it's going to be in their first year. They might have chemistry issues, COVID, all this weird stuff going on. I think they're really whiffed on not getting Harden. Now Kyle too. So, we got the Reddit up.
Oh, you're already in there. I know that's
no. This is Zarar. I think it's.
Oh, it's
This is Zarar. People are also talking about the Heat. They basically could have got Jared Allen. They could have got Karis LeVert, and instead they're walking away with a pick swap and Avery Bradley and Kelly Olynyk. So the James Harden trade is looking worse and worse by the hour. Especially if they could have got Ben Simmons, which we don't really know. But yeah, I think that's interesting that this is what they got now. Really, no players, just draft picks. I don't know if you guys have any final thoughts before we get out of here.
I don't want to speak for you guys, but I'm glad Lowry's staying. I'm super happy about that. Gary Trent Jr. to me, again, I'm going to do this again, guys. Big Duke fan here, so I'm happy with getting two Duke Blue Devils on the team. Nick said he's a UNC fan, so understandably, I mean, he's not a fan. I should probably take this off now because Nick's here, but no. I'm excited. I'm happy. Of course, I'm sure everyone's sad Norm's gone, but I'll speak for myself when I say I'm happy with the deadline. I just hope we can get a 5 somehow, some way.
Yeah, if it's a tanking move, right? If you don't sign a center and you just try to get a high draft pick, then that's a disservice to Kyle, right? Like, you chose to not trade the guy, which is great. Everyone loves it for vibes purposes. He's the heart and soul, but you have a fine line to toe, right? If you're the Raptors, you have to make sure that you do right by Kyle now going forward, while also putting your own franchise in a positive position. So I do think that Toronto definitely has work to do to make sure that what they did is the right choice, because it could go either way, and it's still up to them moving forward.
Yeah. Nick, what about you?
Yeah, I think I'm just extremely happy that Kyle's still a Toronto Raptor. The biggest thing for me, kind of from a sentimental perspective, is it just would have been really, really shitty for his last walk-off to be in Tampa Bay in front of a bunch of fans who don't even really know who he is. The last thing we see him do is this to a camera. Like, I want him to get the ovation he deserves in front of a Toronto crowd, and hopefully that can happen next season. As for Norm, I'm just happy for him. New opportunity. I think Portland's pretty dangerous with him in the fold, and we weren't going to be able to keep him anyway with the money he commanded. So Gary Trent, things are looking up for Raptors. He's a good shooter, good defender, and just Kyle Lowry's the Raptor still. That's the biggest positive for me.
Yeah, I mean, not the deadline I think a lot of Raptors fans expected in terms of stockpiling all these first-round picks and stuff, but it just shows that I think the front office thinks this team is closer than a lot of the fans think this team is in terms of being competitive again. And I think that's, an optimistic way to look at things, because they, like Lewis just said, they're going to be good again. They need to compete if they want to keep Kyle Lowry and do right by him. But we really appreciate all the views today. We saw at least 300 people staying with us the whole time. We really appreciate it. Yeah. Thanks so much. Please do us a favor. Give this video on YouTube a like, subscribe to Raptors Republic, and give us a follow on Twitter. I'm Oren Weisfeld. Do you guys want to go ahead and say your names or tweets or whatever?
Your usernames?
Yes, I mean, same as my name here.
Louis Zatzman.
Yeah.
Nick Tutzel, as you see it down below.
Yeah. We're all.
They don't see that.
We're all underneath. Okay. I mean, we'll probably put in the description anyways, but thank you to Lewis for joining us. Thank you to Nick. Thank you to William Liu for joining us earlier on in the live show. Oren, do you want to kind of
end Aiden as well?
We got a game tomorrow. Yeah, and Aiden as well. Almost forgot Aiden. Yeah.
That's it for me. It was fun.
Yeah, that's it for us as well. Thank you guys for coming, Lewis, Nick. We appreciate your insight. Hopefully we'll get you guys on. Who knows, after a game later this season. We got the Phoenix Suns tomorrow night. We'll see if the Raptors pull it out. We'll see if Gary Trent Jr. can make his debut, as well as Rodney Hood. We'll see what happens there.
Oh, they play the Trailblazers, by the way.
On Sunday, right?
On Sunday, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
That's going to be dope to see. Thank you guys for listening. This was the wrap-up, the trade deadline edition. We'll see you guys tomorrow. Take care. Ooh. And that